Good morning, dear students. I am Vishram Singh, Assistant Professor English working at Government PG College, Karoli. As we know, due to Corona, we are studying online. In this context, today we are going to take the lecture on the famous dramatic monologue written by Robert Browning. He is the pillar of Victorian literature in English literature. The poem which we have to take for a study is My Last Duchess. It is fantastic dramatic monologue. First of all, we should know about the definition of a dramatic monologue. As we know that it is dramatic in its kind and it is a monologue. It is a speech by a single speaker throughout the poem. We have the listener also there in such kind of poem, but the listener is passive throughout the poem. It uh, he or she, we can say, gives his or her a presence through the speeches of the speaker. The listener himself or herself doesn't speak a single word in the poem. It begins in a critical situation and it gives an account of the character characters characterization, character analysis, we can call it. The date of publication, the setting of the poem. As far as My Last Duchess is concerned, it was first published in the volume of poems called Dramatic Lyrics in 1852. It was republished in the Dramatic Romances in 1863. It is a dramatic monologue, as we have already discussed. The speaker is the Duke of Ferrara, an important city of Italy. It was an important cultural center during the Renaissance. Whether the character of the Duke in the monologue is based on some actual historical figure or not, uh, there can be no denying the fact that in the monologue, the poet has captured the very spirit of Renaissance Italy. Its intrigues, its sensibility, its greed, as well as its cultural and artistic activity that we can see in the poem when we will read the text of the poem. As we have already discussed that a dramatic monologue begins at a critical situation. It indulges in self-analysis and self-introspection. The soul of the speaker is laid bare in the poem. We come to know about the character of the Duke and the Duchess easily when we read the text of the poem. Critical summary of the monologue. The Duke of Ferrara, a powerful, proud, hard-hearted Italian duke of the 16th century, has been widowed recently. That is the situation at which mm, the dramatic monologue begins. He intends to marry a second time, the messenger of a powerful count, who has his estate in the neighborhood, comes to the Duke's palace to negotiate with him the gallery and shows to him the portrait of his last Duchess. So that is the very beginning of the poem. Here, the speaker, mm, the Duke himself, shows his first wife's picture in the room. The portrait is lifelike and realistic. The Duke, who is a great lover of the fine arts, is justly proud of it. And the nature of the Duke we come to know about, that he is very proud of his former Duchess. But how he killed, or how he made her wife kill, it is not very clear. But due to his haughty nature, she was killed. The Duke points out the portrait to the messenger and tells him that he alone uncovers the picture and nobody else is allowed to do so. So the listener is the messenger of the Duke, whose girl, whose daughter is going to be married to the Duke. At this point, the Duke notices an inquiring look in the eyes of the messenger, and at once the eyes of the Duchess, and proceeds to satisfy his curiosity. In this way, Browning turns the monologue into a colloquy. The inquiring looks, particular gestures, and movements of the listener. Here, the messengers serve as big question marks and provide the speaker with an occasion for explanation and self-analysis. In this way, much valuable light is thrown on character, and much that is past and date is brought to life. So that is the critical situation in which the dramatic monologue starts or sits in. In the response to the inquiring look of the messenger, the Duke tells him that the deep passion in the eyes of the Duchess does not result from any sex intrigue or guilty love. He did not give her any occasion to be unfaithful to him. So that shows the nature of the Duke, that Duke was possessive over his lady love. Even the portrait Even the portrait on the wall was done not by an ordinary artist, but by a monk, and he, he was allowed only one day to do it. He did not allow the monk any longer time, for he did not want to provide them any occasion for intimacy. So that was the reason, or that was the suspicious nature of the Duke we can see in the poem. And a poem is the dramatic monologue which gives a vivid self-analysis or a character analysis of the central character that we know. This shows that the Duke is a jealous tyrant, and the poor Duchess could not have enjoyed any freedom of movement as the wife of such a man. Continuing further with his explanation, the Duke tells the envoy that his last Duchess had very childish and foolish nature. She was pleased with trifles, would thank others for even the slightest service they happened to render to her. So So these were the weaknesses of the last Duchess, according to the Duke. However, we cannot tell or say these are weaknesses, because these are the freedom matters for a lady. But the Duke was so possessive that he thought that these matters were not related to the lady totally. In these matters, the Duke had an interference. As a matter of fact, she had no discrimination and no sense of dignity and decorum. She smiled at everybody without any distinction. She thanked everybody in the same way. He expected a better sense from his wife. So that was the reason of the anger on the part of the Duke, that the Duke wanted to be differentiated from other people, while his wife was so much childish, or we can call humane, that she didn't differentiate it between the common man and her husband, who was related to a famous named family. This kind of habit grew till it became intolerable to him. At last he gave orders. So these five words include has a great tragedy, we can call. The line has been intentionally enigmatic. We cannot say for certain how smiling stopped. So that was the nature of the Duke, and the Duke became angry, and due to his anger, all smiles of his former wife stopped together. So we can call Duke as brutal and stony-hearted husband. The Duke then asks the messenger to come down, where the other guests of his are waiting. In passing, he tells the messenger that he would expect a rich dowry from his master, but this dowry demand is presented in a simple ways, and we can call it not simple but cunning. The Duke is very cunning in expressing his demand of dowry, but he gives more importance to the beautiful girl. The Count, though of course he adds cleverly, his primary concern is the daughter, and not the dowry. The Duke not only hard-hearted, proud, tyrannical, but also greedy and cunning. So these are the uh, characteristic mainstays of the Duke, which are highly analyzed in this poem, because it is a dramatic monologue. The only good point about him is his love of art. That is the only um, better appreciated quality in the Duke, we can call. As they go down the stairs, he asks the messenger to have a good look the bronze estate of Neptune, the sea god. That is the symbol of the controlling nature of the Duke. In this statue, the god is sword, shown riding and controlling a seahorse. It was done especially for him by the sculptor Claus of Innsbruck. That was the name of the sculptor who made it. It was the name of an imaginary artist invented to impress the messenger, just as earlier he had invented the name of the painter Fra Panthur. So these are the cunning qualities of the Duke which are expressed in the dramatic monologue in very vivid ways. That's all for today. Thank you for watching the video.